flourishing in peace, with 67 million people gainfully employed, the most in our history, the United States today represents an achievement in good government unsurpassed in the history of man.
The years following World War II were a time of unprecedented growth in America. Productivity was up, new industries were emerging, and farmers were literally producing themselves out of business. But the conversion from military to civilian economy, in a labor market flooded with returning soldiers, was not without its bumps.
1946 is one of the great strike waves in American history. And one of the reasons for that is because union leaders were afraid that now that the war emergency was over, that the gains they had made during the war would start to slip away from them. And they were determined to hold on to those gains, even to push them in new directions. And so what happened in the years after World War II, through the late 1940s into the 1950s, is that bargaining over these fundamental issues, wages, working conditions, benefits, became routine.
My father joined the union because all of the other people he worked with joined the union. The most important thing for him was providing a good place for us to live and clothing and money for education. And so having that union job, that steady wage that was negotiated by the union, was a very, very positive thing for him.
Because of union gains, production workers saw their real earnings increase dramatically. Many union members moved into the middle class, now part of the booming economy of the 1950s.
One of the reasons that the immediate post-war period is a period of unprecedented prosperity in the United States is because ordinary people, working people, had more money than they ever had before. And they did what ordinary people do when you give people money: they spent it. They buy cars, they buy refrigerators, they buy TVs. Well, someone's got to make those. And so they hire people at good wages, and those people go out and buy things, and you create an upward economic spiral.
It's out of this world. Take a look at the new Ford for 1950.
You know you make me wanna shout, kick my heels up and shout, throw my hands up and shout, throw my head back.
The car culture had always been strong in modern America, but the new prosperity brought the desire for speed and mobility to the forefront. President Eisenhower's great domestic initiative was the Interstate Highway and Defense System Act of 1956. Promoted as essential to the nation's Cold War defense strategy, the act authorized construction of a national system of highways.
Government planners figure they have found the magic formula for almost endless good times. Cold War is the catalyst. Cold War is an automatic pump primer.
Said someday you'll find.
Cold War military spending was a major stimulant to domestic prosperity in the 50s. The southern and western states attracted weapons research, defense bases, as well as the booming aerospace industry.
Smoke gets in your eye.
The nation was spending more on military security than the net income of all U.S. corporations, giving real meaning to the term big government.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
President Eisenhower was concerned about that complex because he thought it might give too much power and influence to military-industrial contractors. But it is clear that in the 50s, stretching into the 60s, the military-industrial sectors of the economy stimulated economic growth, not so much by the amount of gross domestic product they made, but in their impact on technological development.
Here it is, General Groves, plutonium.
Come with me, my love, to the sea of love.
The nation's gratitude to its returning warriors provided yet another boost to the economy.
The so-called GI Bill, the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, that's passed toward the end of World War II, provides loans and other support to returning GIs who want to start small businesses and farms. That stimulates economic growth, obviously. It also provides support to returning GIs who want to buy houses. That stimulates the construction industry. And it also provides support to returning GIs who want to go to college or technical school. So that is, on the one side, stimulating the educational sector, more and more students, but it's also giving these new students more skills, more technological expertise, and capability to be ever more productive members of the economy. The prosperity of the 50s, the golden age of American capitalism, as economists sometimes like to call it, certainly worked to the benefit of the vast majority of Americans. But to say that it was uniform in its impacts and that it benefited everyone to the same extent would be inaccurate. In the final analysis in the 50s, people of color did not share in the prosperity of the 50s to the extent that equity would suggest they should have, and to the extent they had hoped.